Hi, you beautiful humans. Welcome to my channel. My name is Dominique, and today I thought I would share one of my worst roommate stories with you. I have one or two of them, but I thought I would share the most recent one with you guys. But before we get into it, please remember to smash that subscribe button, leave a like down below. Alrighty, so the story begins where I basically decided to move down to Cape Town to live with my now husband. We were living in a beautiful small little bachelor flat. It had an amazing view of the ocean, mountain views on one side, ocean on the other. It was absolutely gorgeous. A little bit small, but gorgeous for our first place. We did not know that the owner of the place was actually looking to sell. So a few months into our contract, she says to us, listen, unfortunately, we're selling the place. You guys got to be out by next month. So we are now panicking. We've got to find a new place to live. Not a great situation, but you know, you do what you got to do, and we found a place and we're like, no, okay, cool. We've decided that we'll call him Ray, a friend of ours, Ray. Maybe we should ask him if he wanted to come and stay with us, because then we could like split the rent, get a 2-bedroom place, a little bit bigger, you know, like proper kitchen, and like have a really nice place to live. So we chat to Ray and we're like, listen, Ray, would you like to move in with us? And he's like, yes, please. Like, Ray's in a bad situation where he's living and he wants to get out of there, and he is so keen. And if we need more money for like electricity or rent or whatever, we must just let him know and he'll do it. Like, he's there 100%. So a little backstory about Ray. He is a very strange individual. He lives with his grandmother and has like a sort of dead-end job. That's the only way that I can put it. So he works a dead-end job, stays with his grandmother, where he doesn't pay for anything, doesn't do his own washing, literally doesn't even cook for himself. Like, his clothes get packed away for him. So Ray's like, no, he wants to now be independent, be an adult, and, you know, move out and get his own place. Ray is, mind you, 30 years old, right? Very important. He's 30 years old, guys. And that was his situation. So Ray decides, no, you know, I want to embrace adulthood and let's do this thing. So we're like, okay, cool, you know, I mean, he's 30. Ray sounds like a good candidate, and we get the process going and get the ball rolling, and Ray pays his deposit, which is great, so things are going well. And we're like, okay, awesome. You know, Ray seems like a good choice. Let's do this thing. But little did we know, Ray was the worst mistake we could have made. So it's finally moving day, and Ray says to us, listen, he can't get his stuff to the house, no matter what. Like, he cannot find anyone to get his stuff to the house. So we're like, no, cool. Don't worry about it. We organize a moving vehicle. We move all Ray's stuff for him. You know, he doesn't like help us out very much with that, but that's fine. We're like super chill. We understand Ray doesn't have his driver's license. He's 30. He doesn't have his driver's license. It's fine. So we move him in there. First week, sort of chilled vibes, so fine. You know, my husband and Ray play video games together and that kind of thing. They've always been close. It's chilled. Like, we know this guy. The next week though, Ray literally gives us like not even a quarter of the rent, because that was our agreement, that Ray would just pay for his room and we would do the groceries and whatever. Super chill. The next week though, we go and we buy groceries, and my husband and myself generally use about, I don't know, I would say like 4 liters of milk a week, right? If that. So we go and we buy our milk, we buy our food. We of course take into account that there is an extra human, so it's going to be a little bit more. And we buy the groceries. And the next 3 days, like 3 days later, we bought 6 liters of milk. 3 days later, I'm like, we have no milk. Like, where's our milk gone? Kind of cool. Maybe we're just overreacting a little bit, because we do have another human, like super chill. Maybe we've been using it to like cook and make like pastas and whatever. So we carry on with our day, we carry on with our life, whatever, and we buy another 6 liters of milk. And within 2 days, that milk was gone. And we had not used it to make any sort of sauces or anything like that. We had literally just been using it to make coffee. So we're like, okay, cool. We just need to like slow down on the milk situation. Let's see like what happens. You know, Ray can't be using that much milk. There is no way that Ray can be consuming this much milk. We have to go out and buy toiletries and, you know, toilet paper, soap, shampoo, the usual. So we go out and we buy 48 rolls, like this massive, massive pack of toilet paper, of loo rolls, right? And I'm sorry, that's a lot of loo rolls. Like, that would normally last me and my husband, like, flip, dude, like 3 or 4 months, you know, like it depends, okay, but like 3 or 4 months. So we buy these 48 rolls And we're like, no, cool. We're good for like the next 3 or 4 months, because we had to buy toilet rolls too for Ray, because he didn't seem to think that was important to buy himself toiletries and stuff and whatever, which we thought he should be able to do on his own, but he wasn't. So the week goes by and we look and we have like 3 toilet rolls left. And I'm like, something is really wrong here. We are running out of milk so quickly. The toilet rolls are just disappearing. 48 toilet rolls in a week. It's absolutely impossible. I don't understand how this is happening. Like, what? So eventually we go to Ray and we're like, listen, Ray, like, you need to slow down on like using the milk and stuff. Like, it's a lot. Like, I only have so much money. I cannot be paying for like literally 24 liters of milk in 1 month. 24 liters of milk in a month. I'm like, listen, Ray, it's not gonna work. You need to slow down. So Ray says no, he's really sorry, he has been using the milk excessively, and like, he'll try and slow down. It didn't slow down. Ray obviously thought that because he paid this much money to rent his room, that he had the right to eat anything and everything that he saw in the house, and as much as he wanted to, because if he ate it, it just got replaced. So Ray didn't care. Ray would go through tubs of peanut butter, like giant tubs of peanut butter, and like loaves of bread every day. He would basically like take a loaf of bread and half a tub of peanut butter to work with him. It was absolutely ridiculous. So Ray became very expensive, and Ray became more of a cost to us than he did like helping us save. And that was the only reason we got Ray into the situation, was basically to save some money, because we're like, okay, cool, 3 people paying the rent, way better. No. This meant our electricity usage, because unfortunately we lived in a place where you had to top up your electricity, which was super chilled. But we had budgeted a certain amount for electricity, and we were like, there's no way that we're going to go over this amount. We spoke to our beautiful neighbor. She was a lovely, lovely woman who, so with 3 people in the household, and she was like, no, cool, she uses this amount. So we're like, okay, cool, we're above and beyond that, like, we'll be perfectly fine. We ran out of electricity within the first 2 weeks. And I was like, how is this possible? There is no way. I don't understand how we're running out of electricity. So we top up again, and by the end of the month, we had used 3 times the amount that we had budgeted for electricity. And it was absolutely shocking. So we go to Ray and we're like, listen, Ray, you need to please just make sure you're watching your electricity usage. Like, you don't pay for electricity, we do. So obviously, if you're not paying for it, you don't seem to care. Like, that just was Ray's personality and his outlook on life. He was like, well, if it's not coming out of my pocket, I don't care. So no, cool. Great. So electricity never ever went down. It just continues to go up. I don't know what Ray was doing. I honestly don't understand. If he was leaving his TV running like 24/7, or I don't know what was happening. Ray did, however, like to shower with extremely, extremely, extremely hot water. And I think this was the main problem, that he used to use so much electricity in his showers. He was also not the cleanliest person. So when he did shower, he showered for a really long time. He would go like a week without showering and then like have like an hour-long shower. It was a bit excessive. So I think that might have been it, but it still doesn't justify the amount of electricity that we were going through with Ray. So after the first month of living with Ray, we had gone through 48 toilet rolls, triple our electricity, and 24 liters of milk, which is absolutely excessive for 3 people. I'm sorry, that's mad. In my opinion, that's crazy. It now comes time to pay rent. Ray has now received his salary, and we're like, okay, cool. We need to pay rent at the end of the month kind of vibe. Can you give us your contribution, because we got to send it through, else they're going to kick us out, So Ray comes to us and he's like, listen guys, I'm really sorry, but I have to pay you short this month because he's not getting the amount that he thought. So we're like, okay, it's okay, but it's not okay, because we're obviously budgeting and we're trying to like use the little amount of money that we have and make it stretch and like actually make it through, because obviously we had paid deposits on the place and we had to pay for moving trucks and stuff to get all our stuff in there. So it was a huge chunk of money that we had just taken out and spent all at once. So we were struggling a little bit financially. So Ray says, no, he can't pay his full amount. So we're like, it's okay, chill vibes, Ray. Like, we'll try and make it work. We might not have electricity, but we'll try and make it work. So super chill. Whatever, we make it through the month. The next month, Ray says to us, listen, I'm gonna pay you guys the money, but now I'm paying you extra. So we're like, how are you paying us extra? He says no, because he's given us the extra amount from last month, so now he's paid extra. And I said to him, no, Ray, that's not the way it works, my friend. You owed us money, so you haven't paid us extra. And he says, no, he's now paid us extra, so like he basically deserves a little bit more in the house. You know, so he should be able to eat more and use more electricity and do what he wants in life. And I'm like, no, Ray, you're actually just paying us the amount that you had not paid before. Like, you owe us money. Like, it's not, you did not give us anything more in life. No. So by this time, Ray kind of gets the feeling that we don't really like him that much, which wasn't correct, but at the same time wasn't incorrect. We were a little bit annoyed by his actions and like by the way that he thought that he kind of like owned the place because he paid this much money. So, you know, he would basically come home from work and lock himself in his room. He would just close himself in his room and we wouldn't see him until dinner time. He wouldn't even cook for himself, guys. That's absolutely terrible. One night, my husband and myself went out to the beach and we went and we had dinner with his sister and we said to the guy, listen, we're going out for the night. We'll see you later. So we come home and it's 10:30 at night and he eventually comes out of his room and he's like, are you guys cooking for me? So my husband's like, did you seriously not cook for yourself? And he says, no, like he hasn't cooked for himself. Why should he cook for himself? So at 10:30, my husband stood and made this man dinner. I kid you not. And then he was still ungrateful for the dinner he had received because we had gone out for pizza and we had come back with like a fruit slices that we had left and he obviously thought that we were going to bring him pizza. And he was so disappointed and so off with us because we didn't give him pizza. I was like, okay, sure, friend, sure. So lock himself in his room. He wouldn't talk to us until dinner time. We would like basically have to like knock on his door and be like, please can you come fetch your food? Because he was not willing to interact with us in any way, shape or form. Whenever we would go and visit his grandmother, because like I said, we were all close, we go and visit his grandmother, and when he thought we couldn't hear him or when he thought we weren't looking, he would sit and skinner to his grandmother about how terrible we are and about how we do nothing all day. Never mind, I work all day. Yes, I work from home, but that doesn't mean that I'm not working because I'm home all day. So, oh, and this man would not clean, guys. He would not clean for love or money. He literally just sat around doing nothing. So he wouldn't even clean his own bedroom. When he moved out eventually, there was so much dirt and filth in his bedroom. It was absolutely disgusting. This man would go into the bathroom to use the bathroom, right, and tinkle and pee all over the floor, all over the bath mats, all over everything. And the bathroom just smelled like a public urinal. Like it stank. Oh, it was disgusting, right? So he did nothing. He never cleaned. And we gave him a job. We said to him, please just wash the dishes. This man used to wash the dishes, but he used to just like run them under the water and throw them onto the dish rack. So we would have to re-wash all the dishes that he had, like washed apparently, you know, that he had apparently washed. So absolutely disgusting. He was a dirty, dirty guy. Gross, like ew. So he would skin to his grandmother and tell her how useless we were and how we did nothing and how he's starving because we said that he mustn't eat all the food in the house because like a month's worth of groceries was going in a week. Like, slow down, dude. Slow down. You know, the deal was we would make you dinner. He had to like provide his own breakfast and lunch and he never ever did that. So he would complain to us all the time, which then created a little bit of a rift between the relationship that we had with the grandmother and like, you know, that side of the family, that kind of thing, which made things very awkward for when we went to visit. So that was not cool. He obviously didn't know that we heard him talking about us and whatever, and that created a rift between us as well. So things were very awkward in the house. You know, we would try not to be around when he was around. He would try not to be around when we were around. Very awkward. He would also, like I say, he would also shower for an hour. And one time my husband goes into the bathroom to brush his teeth, and my husband is very particular about his toothbrush, about his toothpaste. He's a very, very cleanly man, and I love that about him. And he goes into the bathroom and his toothbrush is wet and Ray's toothbrush is dry, completely dry. Ray never used to have a toothbrush, by the way. Ray just used to have a thing of toothpaste in the bathroom and then no toothbrush. And I was always like, does Ray brush his teeth? Doesn't Ray brush his teeth? Because Ray had the worst breath that I've ever smelled. Like, Ray's breath was disgusting. I'm sorry, it was so gross. So eventually Ray's toothbrush pitches up into the bathroom. Cool, Ray does brush his teeth every now and then. But this day, we're pretty sure that Ray decided to use my husband's toothbrush because my husband's toothbrush was wet. There were like remnants of toothpaste on it. And it was absolutely disgusting. His toothbrush was dry, my toothbrush was dry, and his was wet. And I've never seen my husband this furious. I'm sorry, you don't use somebody else's toothbrush. Like, I think it's a little bit too far. That's disgusting, okay? No. Your mouth is a dirty place, guys. Like, it is. I mean, it's gross. So, like I say, I used to pee all over the floor. He used to use our toothbrushes. He used to use my shampoo and conditioner. I buy these giant, like, things of shampoo and conditioner for my hair because obviously I've got a lot of it, you know, and it was just finishing. Everything was finishing so quickly and everything was just so out of control. So now Ray says to us, now we're already unhappy with Ray. And he says, that's no cool. His friend wants to come visit. Okay, cool, no, his friend. That's fine. You know what, Ray, your friend can come visit, but just make sure that you've sorted out dinner for you and your friend because we can't afford to now feed another mouth on top of like your excessive eating. So Ray says, my cool, it's his friend, And you know, Ray lives with his door closed and we hear Ray talking to this friend through the door often and complaining about us, as usual. So we already don't really like the friend because now he's talking bad about us to the friend. So we're like, do we really want this person here if they've already been fed like all this bad stuff about us and how we won't feed him and how we're so messy and like, no. Ray would talk to me and Ray would come to me and be like, oh yeah, my friend, let's say Brittany, I can't actually remember her name, wants to come visit. So I'm like, is this a friend or is this like a girlfriend? Like, what is this? You know, because he would talk to me and he wouldn't talk to my husband. And if he needed anything or wanted anything, he would come and like talk to me. As soon as my husband was around, he would like run away. And it was weird because him and my husband were initially friends and I didn't know the guy very well until, you know, we had like basically moved in together. So he says, no, like, you know, it's a female, but they're just friends. And she's engaged. And I'm like, no, okay, cool. So tell me something. This friend, when she comes to visit, where is she sleeping? Because we didn't own furniture, okay? Yes, I know, we didn't own furniture. Scandal. We all start somewhere in life. So we didn't own lounge furniture. We had some yoga mats in the lounge and that's what we used to sit on and eat. And very minimalistic. So Ray says, no. When this friend comes over, she's going to be staying in his bed with him. She's going to be sleeping in the bed with him. I'm like, okay, but listen, Ray, like, surely if this friend is engaged, you shouldn't be like sleeping in the bed with her. No, it's totally fine. You know, it's actually like his girlfriend. And I'm like, okay, but Ray, she's an engaged woman. And he's like, yes, that's fine. He's like, she's not married yet, so it's totally okay. I think it's totally chilled. So that already should tell you that Ray was a little bit like suspicious fishes. If he was willing to date an engaged woman because she wasn't married yet, so it didn't mean it was wrong. Super weird. Eventually, after like a month of like Ray's girlfriends coming to visit, she never ever pitched up. She kept making excuses as to why she couldn't come. Purely because how do you say to your fiance, oh, I'm going away for the weekend to what? How do you get around that? So she never ever came over. It was just a weird situation with that. I thought that was super odd. I didn't understand it. So she was meant to come the one weekend and she didn't pitch up because of these excuses. And so Ray decided, we said to Ray, listen, Ray, I got paid less that month, so we were really struggling. And Ray got more money that month because he had made a few more sales. So we said to Ray, listen, we really need your help with just a little bit more money to put some electricity in because we won't be able to cook or anything and I won't be able to work because there's no electricity. So could you help us out? So Ray's like, yeah, he'll try and help us out. No problem. Cool. We're like, thanks. That's actually really decent, Ray. Cool. So the next few days, Ray says to us, I'm so sorry. I'm actually not getting money and I can't help you guys out. I'm really, really broke. So we're like, oh crap. Okay, I don't know what to do. So we beg, borrow, steal money to make sure that the household can actually function and that we all have food and that Ray has electricity and, you know, we do what we gotta do. So Ray goes to work like the next day after the weekend and he leaves his door open and I walk past and I just see these empty bottles of whiskey laying all over Ray's floor. And I'm like, this is very odd. Like, this is very, very strange. So I like peek my head in the door. Yes, I know I'm nosy, whatever. And there's literally just empty, like 2 or 3 empty bottles of whiskey Just snacks everywhere, sweets, snacks, chips, full thing of toilet rolls, even though he was still using all of our toilet rolls and never ever touched his or put his toilet rolls in the bathroom. And they had recently been bought because he didn't have money before that. So Ray had told us that he had no money to help us with electricity or food, but he went out and he bought himself whiskey and chips and snacks and things, and literally just locked himself in the room the whole weekend and drank 3 bottles of whiskey by himself. Yep, that's what the man did. He just sat there and drank himself into a little coma because his engaged girlfriend couldn't come and visit him. By this point, things were getting really bad financially. We could not support this man anymore. He was a grown man, like he was a grown adult, and we had to pay for his toiletries and his food and over excessive electricity amounts and over excessive milk amounts and just crazy things, you know. And this man was paying us short on rent and kept going he had no money, but then was drinking himself into a little coma in his room, and it became too much for us. And we eventually decided that we needed to get out of the flat because we can't afford to live like this anymore. And unfortunately at the time, the company that I was working with was going under, so I didn't know how much longer I was going to have a job for. And so we were like, listen, my husband takes him outside and he's like, listen, unfortunately this isn't going to work anymore and we need to move out. So the guy's like, oh no, you know, he really wishes he could help us out a little bit more with rent and stuff, but he just possibly can't, you know. There's just no way that this man can help us in any way, shape or form. So we're like, no, cool, don't worry about it, Ray, it's all vibes. The next day, I kid you not, the next day, Ray's grandmother is there with her car, packing up the house. We had not even given him a date of when we were leaving it or any of that. Like, there were no details given. And the next day, Ray's grandmother was there packing the car. Ray still then made his grandmother carry full boxes of his stuff into the vehicle. His grandmother is in her 80s. Yes. Yeah. Very interesting. So Ray leaves literally the next day, and we go in there and we clean his room. So we're like, listen, firstly we're like, Ray, listen, like, you don't have to leave now. Like, you know, we'll probably still go till like the end of the month, whatever. We're still gonna figure out the final details. And Ray says, no, he's gonna leave. He's out of here. I would also want to leave if I was Ray. I mean, Ray got free food literally at his grandmother's house. He got his washing done. He's got his washing packed away. His grandmother in her 80s used to clean his room 2 or 3 times a week for him. He had to do nothing. When I say nothing, I mean nothing. And he would often say to his grandmother, oh, you know, I can't pay for my internet this month. And then the grandmother would pay for the internet. That was another thing. So I need internet to be able to work from home. And Ray was in charge of the internet. That was part of his deal for the house. And the internet would go down on the daily. And I was losing so many classes. I'm an online teacher. And I get penalized for them. So I get $20 taken off every time I miss a class. And Ray's just like, well, can't do anything about it. I'm like, Ray, please can you phone the service provider and just find out what is happening? Yeah, well. I said to him, well, if I'm sending more classes, Ray, you need to pay in more money. Oh, that's fine, he'll pay in the money. Of course, he never ever did. So eventually my husband phoned, used his ID, and he's like, Ray, just give me your ID and your whatever, and I'll sort it out. So my husband phones and he's like, hi, I'm Ray. This is my ID number, blah, blah, blah. He gets someone to come out and actually fix the internet. After 3 months of us saying to Ray, please, Ray, you need to fix the internet. Ray's like, sorry. And Ray would just often tell us, well, you can either have rent or you can have internet. I can't pay you both. But before we moved in, Ray was like, if you need more money, if you need more help, I'm keen to be an adult. Never ever happened. So Ray moves out and he takes all his stuff, super chilled. He's back in Granny's house, living his best little life, you know, getting fed what he wants, getting spoiled, no problems. And we go into Ray's room, which is now empty, and it is absolutely disgusting. The smell in that room was disgusting. There was mold growing up on the walls. We did have a bit of a mold problem in the place, but his room was like, ugh. So there was mold growing on the walls. It stank in there. There was dirt everywhere, all over everything. It was the most disgusting place I've ever seen. I don't think in the 4 months that we lived there, Ray had picked up a broom once to clean his room. Ew. Even when his girlfriend was coming over, he didn't think to clean his room. Like, sorry, I can't handle uncleanly people. I mean, Ray would expect me to do his washing for him and hang his washing up for him, and I was like, Ray, you're a 30-year-old man. Pick up a broom, do your own sweeping, do your own washing. Gross. And I think the worst thing and the most disgusting thing that we found out at the end of this whole situation was my husband was in there before we moved out, because we obviously moved out a few weeks later at the end of the month. So my husband's in there like wiping down the walls and things, because we're decent humans and we want to leave the place in the same sort of condition that we found it. My husband goes in there and he's cleaning the walls and he says to me, come here. And I'm like, what? He's like, look at this wall. Ray had been doing adult things in the room and basically messing all over the walls. And this is why we were going through so much tissue paper, because Ray was doing his adult time and just letting it go all over the walls, down the walls. And my husband had to go and clean up his mess that he had left on the walls. So this is why we were going through so much toilet paper, because the man had a problem. He was lonely and his hand was his best friend. Absolutely disgusting. I'm sorry, that is so gross. He was, gross. At the end of all of it, unfortunately, there were a few relationships broken. Like I say, Ray and my husband used to be very, very close, and they used to be like brothers almost, and that relationship just ended because Ray decided he wasn't interested in talking to us anymore and that we were just horrible people. So Ray just never spoke to us again after that. And unfortunately, Ray's grandmother also got told all these things about how terrible we were and how we would starve him and do nothing and blah 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 blah. You know. So a few relationships were broken, but in the end managed to move into a better place where we are happy, where I don't have to clean up another man's urine off of the floor because he is that disgusting. I think the moral of the story is it doesn't matter how well you think you know someone, once you live with them, there are always dirty little secrets that come out. Because he seemed normal. I mean, yes, he lived with his grandmother and whatever, but he had a job and he seemed like a fairly normal human. Then when we moved in with him, it was like so much deeper, and we realized how disturbing and how childlike and how disgusting this person actually was, and how they only cared about themselves. So moral of the story, it doesn't matter how long you know someone, if you haven't lived with them yet, you don't know them deeply and truly enough, guys. Creepy things are happening. I do have another story about two roommates that I used to live with that used to basically try and invite me in for adult time moments. So if you guys want to hear about that, pop a comment down below, because that was also a very interesting situation for me to live in. That was quite a rough one, guys. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please leave a comment down below and let me know if you guys have had any creepy roommate stories, or if you've lived with anyone that has been like absolutely disgusting. I would love to hear your stories. Alrighty guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace, love and happiness. Remember to be present in the moment. Bye.